MrBeast is a YouTuber that needs absolutely no introduction. He's been at the top of the YouTube game for a while now, constantly getting hit after hit for each video he makes, whether that would be challenge videos or him giving away large amounts of money. And due to this, he's developed one of the best reputations any creator could hope for on the platform, with millions respecting him for how charitable he is and the work he does in his videos. But recently, this perfect reputation of his has been starting to crack in the public eye, as more and more people have started to just straight up dislike him. Now, whether people actually have legitimate reasons to dislike him, or they're just Twitter users who hate every millionaire, I think this should be discussed either way. So I'm gonna try and go through most of the major events that have happened with MrBeast, and some of the arguments against him, and I'll show why I don't think his newfound hatred is exactly deserved. So with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Before we get into any of the actual serious issues that people would have with MrBeast, I want to go over some of the minor things that he would get called out on, most of which are just people getting mad at old jokes for whatever reason. But I want to give some context first. YouTube was way different years ago in what you could get away with guideline-wise, and what was socially acceptable to joke about. In 2016, people like Filthy Frank, iDubbbz, Max Mofo, and several others were becoming popular due to the widespread edginess of YouTube at the time, pushing the boundaries of what they could get away with. And MrBeast was no different. His first big break on YouTube was with his Worst Intro series, where he would make fun of YouTube intros that little kids would make, with him usually doing shit like breaking laptops and making Bleach jokes.
That intro reminded me of the Big Bang, and it also reminded me of how I wish it never happened because I regret being born. The perfect way to welcome people to your channel is to tell them how much you want to kill yourself with some Nightcore Linkin Park.
Yeah, this shit's pretty tame compared to a lot of the content then looking back. But years after MrBeast stopped making this type of content, tweets started coming out basically calling to cancel him for making edgy jokes back then, with the biggest controversy being an attack helicopter joke made by his friend Chris.
People say to me that a person being a helicopter is impossible. I'm having a plastic surgeon install rotary blades, 30mm cannons, and AMG 114 Hellfire missiles on my body. From now on, I want you guys to call me Apache and respect my right to kill from above and kill needlessly.
And look, whether you think the joke was okay or not is something I don't really give a shit about at this point. It was years ago, so I don't really have a reason to care about it. I know a lot of people hate this argument since it can imply that you can't criticize someone for past mistakes, but MrBeast stopped making content like this and hasn't made a comment like this recently, so I don't see why people would call him out on it. I'd also argue that jokes like this were just part of the YouTube landscape back then. For the entire time he's been on YouTube, MrBeast has always tried to keep up with the trends of the site and would do whatever he could to get success on YouTube, for better or for worse. Hell, this guy counted to 100,000 in a single video to get success and grind out YouTube. This shit clearly isn't above him. So when you put that into perspective, it makes perfect sense why these jokes were made. Edgy and offensive humor was at the top of YouTube in 2016 to 2017, and he jumped in on that whenever it was still the norm on YouTube, so I can't really shit on him for it. The people grandstanding about this type of humor have always been way more annoying than the people actually making the jokes, and I think that's how it always will be. Instead of focusing on real issues, people will focus on shit like this, and try and quote unquote hold people accountable just because someone said a joke that they didn't like. I'm not saying you can't criticize humor or call something unfunny, but what I do have a problem with is people acting like making edgy jokes is an immoral thing to do, and digging up old clips and tweets from years ago to expose someone for these things. But to conclude this section, whether you want to get mad at MrBeast for old jokes or not, none of what's been discussed here takes away from what he's done for the platform, and it doesn't show how he's some awful person. It just kind of shows that certain people will find anything from someone's past to make them seem awful if they have a good image. It perplexes me, honestly. But that's about it for this short little section. Moving on. One of MrBeast's first major controversies in his YouTube career was his beef with one of his former editors, DoesYT. To give some context, Fly made a video in April 2018 talking about his experience working for MrBeast, calling it one of the worst experiences of his life. He claimed that everyone working for MrBeast was miserable, and that he faked his own videos. Fly claimed that MrBeast would only be at the start and end of his own videos and would let the crew do the rest of the work for him. It is important to note that this video probably had more in it than just that, but the video has been completely lost to time, and I couldn't find a re-upload of it anywhere. The only thing that survives of this specific controversy is a Drama Alert interview, where Keemstar interviewed MrBeast. And in that interview, MrBeast claimed that what Fly was saying in his video was completely false, and was just a clout chasing move as far as he was concerned. He also claimed that Fly never spoke to him the whole time he was working for him, and even after the video itself came out, he was trying to get in contact with Fly to sort everything out, to no avail. And Fly's claim about MrBeast faking his videos was also argued here, with MrBeast revealing that he had Crohn's disease, which is why he skipped out on the video that Fly was helping out with.
Okay, so anyways, we are going to film this waitress video. I'm there at the start. It's me and, us four, we're a squad. We're tipping waitresses. And I mean, we're there, we're at Hooters because we tip them. And, I eat some wings because I'm undisciplined, whatever. And basically, it was really acting up. So I said, hey, you guys go film the rest of the video. I want to go nap. I got to take it easy. We have a sponsorship on the video because, we're giving away sponsors money. We have deadlines. Video has to get filmed. I'm there for the start of it. And then I'm just like, guys, go tip the rest of them for me. And now he's making an exposed video like, oh, MrBeast doesn't film his own videos. Like, what are you going on about, man? Just like...
It is important for me to say that this entire situation is a he said, she said thing, since no proof has been shown on either side. However, this does not prove anything about MrBeast. For every claim being alleged here, there was no evidence at all. Everything said in Fly's word was just word of mouth, so obviously this shouldn't be taken at face value, especially with serious claims like a rough work environment or faking videos. But I think MrBeast did a good job at defending himself here given the circumstances he was in. But after this situation, there was one more former worker of him that came out, by the name of Turner. He claimed that working for MrBeast was one of the most mentally draining experiences of his life, with him even being called mentally retarded and replaceable. But what makes this case so jarring to me is how contradicting Turner can be with his statements. About a year before he came out with his experiences, he did a video about his time working for MrBeast, and his tone was completely different than from his tweets. In the video he made, it did not sound like he was in a bad work environment at all. In fact, it sounded like MrBeast and his team were incredibly generous to him. And even if he was just trying to look at the situation in a positive light in the video, why did he even make it in the first place? According to the video, he said he was still getting paid by MrBeast, and to give him the benefit of the doubt, maybe this is why he looked at it so positively. But even with that in mind, he wasn't forced to make a video, so this just makes everything look way more confusing. Turner eventually came out with his own video explaining himself and talking about everything, which is completely wiped almost everywhere, by the way. I had to go on the Wayback archive of his channel to even see it, and finally looking at the video itself, that like to dislike ratio isn't the greatest to say the least. So I was very skeptical coming into this, and after watching this video, I remain unconvinced. The main situation he lists off is when MrBeast wanted to make a compilation video of all the money he gave away in 2018, and he wanted Turner to make a money counter on the bottom left corner of the screen that added up to 500k according to the video titles after every video clip was played. But Turner instead would edit it so that the actual amount of money was shown instead, which ended up pissing off MrBeast, and he made Turner redo the edits many times. Now, if we assume that everything he said in the video is 100% true, it leaves me with one question. How is MrBeast not justified in this situation? It's his video, and he has the right to have it edited whatever way he wants. Yeah, maybe some criticism can be levied that he wasn't being entirely honest with the amount of money he was giving away, but that doesn't really matter when it comes to what we're dealing with here. He wanted it edited a certain way, and his editor straight up refused. He had every right to get mad, the dude wasn't doing his job properly. But to sum up my thoughts on this, neither of these incidents have changed my opinion of MrBeast. One of them has no evidence to back it up, and the other one has a bit more, but can't be confirmed. And even if it's true, it's more the fault of the editor than MrBeast. The fact that people still use these two incidents that have barely anything backing them up is crazy. If you're gonna go after someone and call them a bad person, at least use information that is completely verified, but Twitter people don't really care about that, and will go after literally everything he does, as shown later in the video. Moving on. Now, I was originally going to make separate sections on the most major controversies on MrBeast, but what I've come to realize is that most of the stuff that gets a good amount of backlash is very minor, and there's a lot of those situations, so I'm just going to sum up some of them in this section. Starting off with the Squid Game controversy. So, MrBeast made a video essentially recreating Squid Game in real life, which caused a significant amount of controversy. The main criticism was that Squid Game itself was a critique of capitalism, so MrBeast reenacting it and giving a cash prize to the winner feeded into the exact problem the show was criticizing, and that maybe it should have used the money to help out people instead of doing this. And I just have to say, has anyone who gave out these critiques ever even watched his content before? MrBeast literally built his entire current brand image off of helping people, giving away money and doing crazy challenges. He is constantly giving away things, and has probably done more to help people out than the average person that likes to complain on Twitter. Hell, he has an entire channel dedicated to helping people. Remember Beast Philanthropy? According to him, he runs that channel at a loss and doesn't profit from it at all. He just gives out money there to help people who need it more than he does. So I just don't get this point at all. Plus, the Squid Game video itself was made purely for entertainment, and clearly wasn't meant to discredit the issues that Squid Game itself was trying to address. It was just supposed to be a fun video for his audience, and fun in general for the people participating in it. You can criticize it, sure, but claiming MrBeast is some bad guy due to this is ridiculous, and ignoring that he's been actively trying to help people in his actual content to make a point is just being dishonest. The next issue I want to focus on here is the drama around MrBeast's chocolate bars. For some context, MrBeast made a tweet asking his followers to clean up the presentation of his chocolate bars in Walmarts, and this became a controversy for some reason. Just reading this out on my script makes me hate Twitter and most of the users on it, like fucking hell. The main criticism that I've seen of this is that MrBeast shouldn't be trying to get his fans to do free labor for him, and this is one of the dumbest critiques I've ever seen towards MrBeast. Look at the tweet and tell me how long it would have taken to clean up the presentation on the chocolate bars. What, like a minute at most? Maybe a little longer? He's not asking his audience for much at all. It's free labor, sure, but it doesn't take long at all. Plus, he's not acting like he's entitled to people's help on this. He's not getting mad at people for not helping out. He's just generally asking for help. There is no issue with what he was asking for in this tweet. This stuff is just grandstanding and that's it. I find it funny that because of MrBeast's generally clean reputation, people have to go to things like this to try and find something negative to say about him. Neither the Squid Game video nor this show that he is some bad person. I get that negative things people say will generally get all the attention. That's how the internet works, and maybe that's why commentary is thriving right now. But at least go after someone for bad things they've done, and not just nitpick a grandstand about videos and tweets. Moving on. On January 28th, 2023, MrBeast made a video where he helped 1,000 blind people finally see for the first time. Yes, there was a controversy behind this. It confuses the shit out of me too. In the video, he paid for 1,000 blind people to get a life-changing surgery so that they could finally see again, with these people coming from a variety of places that don't exactly have easy access to life-changing care like this. So, what's the issue here? He is literally improving the lives of the people he featured in the video significantly by giving them the chance to get a life-changing surgery. This is probably one of the greatest things that he's done. Well, if you know Twitter by now, nothing is good enough for them. MrBeast received a lot of criticism for this, with arguments varying from each person that had an issue with everything. So, I'm just gonna try and counter the main arguments that most people had. So, let's get into it. One of the first and most common arguments that I've heard against MrBeast for this video is that he was exploiting the people that were featured just for content, and I have a lot of issues with this claim. Is MrBeast's video exploitative? Yeah, probably. He's most likely using the genuine reactions of the people in the video to get more views, which I guess can be seen as him exploiting them. But does this really matter? Whatever exploitation is happening is irrelevant whenever you bring in the factor that he's literally helping people and essentially changing their lives for the better. Him doing the video is more beneficial for the people involved than negative, so I just see this as a nothing point, and nobody should care about it. The second common criticism that I saw for the video is more about MrBeast himself. People have claimed that he only does charitable acts and similar things for profit, but the thing is that this is completely wrong if you look at how he runs his channels. I mentioned this before, and I don't want to repeat the same point I made, but I kinda have to in order to prove this wrong. MrBeast has an entire channel based around philanthropy that he doesn't make a profit off of. And if we want to go further with this, he's been doing this type of content as far back as 2017. One of his first viral videos was him giving $10,000 to a homeless person. But let's put aside if he genuinely cares about charity for a second, because there's no way of us truly knowing one way or the other. Whether he cares or not doesn't change the action itself, and the video is more beneficial than harmful. But overall, I think people hating someone for essentially improving lives significantly, regardless for if it was a YouTube video or not, is very weird. And it's most likely due to the mentality we see nowadays of people hating rich people, no matter what they do, and how they handle their business. And most importantly, this doesn't show how MrBeast is somehow a bad person, and nothing we've seen so far proves that he is. Moving on. This is the most recent drama regarding MrBeast, and while it doesn't have anything to do with people hating him specifically, and has more to do with Chris, I feel like it was important to mention either way. For those who aren't exactly in the loop with everything, Chris from MrBeast recently came out as transgender, which completely divided the internet. There was one side who supported Chris and was happy with him coming out about it, and the other side felt devastated by this revelation. And this controversy sort of peaked because of a video that SunnyV2 made about the whole thing, which was bad, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't bad for the reasons that most people were criticizing him for. The SunnyV2 video was more or less focused on Chris being in danger for the MrBeast brand itself, which is a bad point if I'm being honest. Let's say that 40% of MrBeast's audience decides to leave his channel due to the whole Chris thing. That won't happen, by the way, but let's just use it as an example. He would still have around 90 million subscribers and at least 60 million people watching every video. He's at a point in his YouTube career where he's literally too big to fail, as even if his views and subscribers dropped, he is miles above any YouTuber when it comes to how his channel performs. But putting analytics aside here, I feel like SunnyV2's video focused way too much on how Chris's transition would affect the brand, and not the morality behind it. He acts like Chris and others are characters in some sort of TV show instead of actual people, which is kind of weird if I'm being honest. I know MrBeast is a big channel, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't treat the people involved like, well, actual people. And his video summed up a lot of the arguments that were being made about Chris at the time. But look, whether you're fine with Chris transitioning or not is irrelevant at this point. At the end of the day, he isn't harming anyone in his decisions. He's just doing what is making him happy personally. I don't think the guy deserves half the internet trying to go at him due to this, including digging into his personal life and assuming that he left his wife due to wanting to transition for some reason, even though we have no evidence for that and all of that is private. There was also this one MrBeast clip that was getting spread around on TikTok where people cherry-picked a few times where MrBeast looked unhappy, presumably due to being sad at what his friend had become according to the internet. This has caused a lot of people who are against Chris to have sympathy for MrBeast in the situation. And I know the internet likes to speculate about a lot, but this is just insane. This is not proof of anything. The anti-Chris side is making a mountain out of a fucking molehill, all because of a few facial expressions in a video. And that's what annoys me about it. They're sensationalizing the entire thing all because they don't agree with the decision someone made, that at the end of the day isn't harming anyone. The most recent case of them doing this is when a clip resurfaced of Chris simply saying that he would be featuring in less MrBeast videos in order to focus on taking care of his son. And people spun this as an official announcement of him being fired from MrBeast's crew. How you can spin him just appearing less in videos and to him straight up leaving is beyond me. Half the internet seems to want him gone so bad that they're willing to say literally anything and just hope it's true. It's insane to me. But overall, whether you agree or disagree with Chris's transition, caring this much about it and not letting a person live their life just because you disagree with their decision is weird to say the least. Moving on. Throughout his entire time on YouTube, MrBeast has had many things thrown at him, from people saying he's exploiting people for views and money, his zoology humor being scrutinized, to people just hating him because he's rich. And he's managed to overcome every single one of these criticisms and completely move past them, which is a good thing. He's done amazing things for YouTube and people in general, and I find it pretty respectable that he found a way to make money by giving away money. It's kind of like a free money loop in a way. It's pretty neat to say the least. And although people on Twitter will hate on him constantly, he'll continue to have success on the platform completely uncontested, with most people still respecting him and admiring the amount of work he puts into his content. And there's a valuable lesson to learn from all of this, which is fuck Twitter. They'll always find something on the person they hate, even if it's a nothing burger. It's happened time and time again, and MrBeast isn't even the only example. So none of those people should be taken seriously at all. But anyways, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully I'll have a new one out soon, but who knows what will happen. This video took like 3 months to finally come out, so realistically anything could happen. I have a join channel button in case you want to support my channel, but of course it's optional. You can do whatever you want, and with that, I'm done with this video. Oh yeah, one last thing. Subscribe to my podcast with Spinling, #FLM.